Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome. As we gather here today, we acknowledge on behalf of the County of Renfrew and our community that we are meeting on the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin people. The County of Renfrew was established in 1861 on these lands, which have been cared for by the Algonquin people for thousands of years. We express our gratitude to the Algonquin people for their stewardship of this land and honor their rich history and culture. We also thank all generations of Indigenous peoples who have maintained a deep connection to this territory, and we are committed to fostering respect, reconciliation, and understanding. Could you please stand for a moment of silent reflection?
Our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée.
Keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Please be seated. Madam Clerk, could you conduct roll call, please?
Good morning. Councillor Bennett. Councillor Brose.
Present.
Councillor Doncaster. Councillor Donahue.
Here.
Warden Emo.
Present.
Councillor Giardini.
Present.
Councillor Grills.
Present.
Councillor Yawn. Councillor Lynch.
Here.
Councillor McKenzie.
Present.
Councillor Mayville.
Present.
Councillor Murphy.
Here.
Councillor Nicholson.
Here.
Councillor Service. Councillor Watt.
Present.
Councillor Weir.
Present.
Councillor Wilmer.
Present.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Thank you. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Councillor Mayville, please.
I believe it's under correspondence, but at the time I'll declare.
Thank you. Seeing none except with that one, we'll move to adoption of the minutes of the previous council session. Mover, please. Member from North Algonquin Wilberforce, seconded by member from Laurentian Valley. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None? It's carried. Thank you. As we begin today's proceedings, I would like to take a moment to recognize that February is Black History Month, a time to honor and celebrate the rich history and achievements, contributions of Black individuals and communities. This month serves as an opportunity for reflection, education, and action, acknowledging the resilience, excellence, and ongoing struggles for equity and justice. As a council, we reaffirm our commitment to diversity, inclusion, and the ongoing work of addressing systematic barriers. We encourage everyone to take this time to learn, engage, and recognize the profound impact that Black individuals, past and present, have had in shaping our communities and our nation. Let us use this month not only to celebrate, but to advance meaningful conversations and actions toward a more just and equitable society for all. Since the last County Council meeting on January 28, I've attended 13 meetings on county business. I was honored to attend the King Charles III Coronation Medal presentation along with Councillor Grills for Mr. William or Bill Croshaw. Mr. Croshaw served as Reeve of Head Clara and Mariah Township, having first served on Township Council in '96 and was elected Reeve in 1999. Over the years, on his term as County Councillor, Mr. Croshaw served as Chair of the Health Committee that oversaw Boncher Manor, Miramichi Lodge, and the Emergency Services Department. He was also an active volunteer for Miramichi Lodge's bingo fundraiser and dedicated to his community. He is a veteran, having served in the Royal Canadian Navy, a retired OPP sergeant whose 31-year career saw him posted in Pembroke, Ralston, and the village of Uppsala, north of Thunder Bay. Mr. Croshaw joined his wife, Louise, to live at the Four Seasons Lodge in November 2024, where he continues his community service as an active member of the Lodge's Residents' Council. While we were talking, he told me about serving at 17 years of age on the Canadian destroyer, the Sioux. They were on convoy duty in the North Atlantic, and he talked about how cold it was and sheets of ice, and he described it as an adventure. It's not what I would describe as an adventure. But anyway, I have a lot of respect for Mr. Croshaw. On Sunday, I attended and celebrated the twinning of the Great Canadian Kilt Skate in Petawawa to commemorate the special partnership between the County of Renfrew and Renfrewshire, Scotland. Thank you to the town of Petawawa for being such an excellent host. On Monday, CL Craig Kelly and I attended a virtual EOWC call. We discussed the actions of caucus to date with regards to the USA and tariffs against Canada. The chair has met by telephone with the New York Association of Counties. They have established contact and exchanged information with the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative. This association counts mayors, chairs, governors, and the premier as part of their membership. The caucus has started to engage with the Ontario Chamber of Commerce and will provide information to the local chambers. The thrust of the initiative will be buy local and buy Canadian. I met with the NDP, Liberal, and Conservative candidates for Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke provincial election. With the assistance of our staff, we were able to inform on a number of issues important to our community. I would like to wish you all a happy Valentine's Day and a wonderful Family Day weekend. With heavy amounts of snow forecasted over the next few days, please take your time if you're traveling. And for those who are staying in the area, enjoy your time here and please take part in some of the many winter events that are happening throughout Renfrew County. I will remind those assembled here of the following: the County of Renfrew, experience our history, and share our future. This concludes my address for this session of County Council. There are no delegations, I believe, at this time. And Mr. Kelly, correspondence, please.
Thank you, Warden, and good morning. Yes, the correspondence that we've received has been forwarded to the appropriate committees and shall be dealt with at the appropriate time.
Thank you. And we'll move through the agenda. Just give me 1 second. Sorry. We'll move to Development and Property with Chair Bros, please.
Thank you, Warden. To the Council of the Corporation of the County of Renfrew, members of County Council, we, your Committee of the Whole, Development and Property, wish to report and recommend as follows. Resolution number 1 is the Renfrew County Agriculture Economic Development Committee. It's resolution number DP-CC-25-01-08, moved by myself as chair, seconded by committee. County Council accept the updated terms of reference for the Renfrew County Agriculture Economic Development Committee. Again, the background is there with the changes that they've brought forward. Item number 2 is a letter of support, sustainable funding, Canadian Association of Nuclear Host Communities, resolution number DP-CC-25-01-09, moved by Chair, seconded by committee, that the warden sign the joint letter of support advocating for sustainable funding for the Canadian Association of Nuclear Host Communities, CANHC, of which the County of Renfrew and Town of Deep River are members, and that the letter be sent to MP Cheryl Gallant, Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke. Again, the background is attached. Moving to bylaws, the municipal consultation strategy for County of Renfrew official plan amendments, resolution number DP-CC-25-01-11, moved by Chair, seconded by committee, that County Council adopt a bylaw implementing a municipal consultation strategy under Section 17.18 of the official plan. And again, the background information is there for your review. And that is the end of my report, all of which is respectfully submitted by myself as chair and the committee members. Thank you, Warden.
Thank you. And to members of council, any questions, comments, or concerns on item number 1? And the member from Whitewater, please.
Thank you, Warden. Just a question, and fully support the amendments to the terms of reference. The recent announcements that the province has made about this agricultural systems being evolved outside of the Golden Horseshoe, is that initiative something that we're going to ask this committee to consider and provide any feedback to us on?
Mr. Davis, please.
Thank you, Warden, and through you to the councillor. So the systems approach was briefly discussed during the budget review. So when we talked about updating the county official plan, part of that process and part of that initial budget of $250,000 was to look at the systems approach and the mapping of the system agricultural processes within the county. So as part of the process, and to answer your questions, once we have something in place, we'll reach back into this committee for their feedback. So the answer would be yes.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, seeing nothing, we'll move to item number 2. Comments? Seeing none. Item number 3. Okay. The report as a whole. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved, Warden.
Thank you. So you've heard the report, you've heard the questions. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, opposed? All right, thank you very much, Council. And we'll move to operations, and Vice Chair Lynch, please.
Thank you, Warden. To the Council of the Corporation of the County of Renfrew, members of County Council, we, your Committee of the Whole Operations, wish to report and recommend as follows. Resolutions. Number 1, Community Sports and Recreation Infrastructure Fund. It's on page 27. Resolution number OPCC 250105. Moved by Chair, seconded by Committee, that County Council direct staff to proceed with an application under the Community Sports and Recreation Infrastructure Fund, CSRIF, Stream 2, New Builds and Signature New Builds for the reconstruction of the trail crossing AT032, Bissett Creek and Highway 17, located on the Algonquin Trail in the United Townships of Head, Clara, and Mariah. Number 2 is grant funding for recreational trails. It's on page 28. Resolution number OPCC 250106. Moved by Chair, seconded by Committee, that County Council direct staff to pursue and submit applications for funding under any eligible provincial and/or federal programs that are or may become available for which development or maintenance of county recreational trails and associated bridges may be eligible. Number 3 is Department Restructuring Evaluation Report. It's on page 28. Resolution number OPCC 250121, moved by Chair, seconded by Committee, that the County Council recommend that Public Works and Engineering Department continue with in-house design for projects that fit within the scope of current capacity and knowledge. Again, I should have said that all the background is attached. Number 4 is the shared winter road maintenance. It's on page 29. Resolution number OPCC 250122, moved by Chair, seconded by Committee. The County Council recommend that sharing of winter road maintenance remain as status quo, and that staff continue to work with local municipalities to review current routes and duplication of efficiencies. Again, the background is attached. Well done to the Public Works for all the information that was provided, from financials to staffing. Then we go into the bylaws, which is on page 37. Community Safety Zone, County Road 63, Stewartville Road. Resolution number OPCC 250111, moved by Chair, seconded by Committee, that County Council adopt a bylaw designating County Road 63, Stewartville Road, between civic address 1164 and 175 meters south of civic address 1164, Township of McNabb Braeside, as a community safety zone. Number 6 is Community Safety Zone, County Road 51, Petawawa Boulevard, page 38. Resolution number OPCC 2501-12, moved by Chair, seconded by Committee. The County Council adopt a bylaw designating County Road 51, Petawawa Boulevard, between the civic address 2175 Petawawa Boulevard and 2427 Petawawa Boulevard, a distance of approximately 1.7 kilometers, as a community safety zone. The background is there, and I believe there was a resolution from Petawawa amending the first letter. Number 7 is on page 38, posted speed limits, County Road 51, Petawawa Boulevard. Resolution number OPCC 250114, moved by Chair, seconded by Committee, that the Operations Committee recommends that County Council adopt a bylaw to authorize speed limits to reduce the posted speed limit on County Road 51, Petawawa Boulevard, between Beeline Road and Silky Drive from 80 kilometers to 70 kilometers per hour, and that bylaw 8-24 be repealed. The background is attached. Number 8 is on page 39, dedicate lands as part of the public road allowance, County Road 48, Magnesium Road. Resolution OPCC 250115, moved by Chair, seconded by Committee, that the County Council adopt a bylaw to dedicate Part 4 of Plan 49R6658 in the geographic township of Ross Township of Whitewater Region as part of the County Road 48, Magnesium Road Public Road Allowance. The background is attached. Number 9 is on page 39, stop, up, close, and convey County of Renfrew surplus land, County Road 51, Petawawa Boulevard. Resolution number OPCC 250116, moved by Chair, seconded by Committee, the County Council adopt a bylaw to stop, up, close, and convey the land located with part of Lot 9, Range B and C, described as Part B on Plan 49R20817, in the town of Petawawa, to Kevin Holm for the sum of $6,000. Number 10, page 40, stop, up, close, and convey County of Renfrew surplus land, County Road 62, Cumbermere Road. Resolution number OPCC 250117, moved by Chair, seconded by Committee, the County Council adopt a bylaw to stop, up, close, and convey land located within parts Lot 1 and 2, Concession 6 on Plan 49R 20797 in the geographic township of Radcliffe, Township of Madawaska Valley, to Cameron, Kent, Waddington, for the sum of $1,485. The background is attached. Number 11 is on page 41, the Renfrew County Weed Inspector. Resolution number OPCC 250118, moved by Chair, seconded by Committee, that County Council adopt a bylaw to appoint Brian Weckworth, Operations Coordinator, as Weed Inspector for the County of Renfrew, and that bylaw 51-23 be repealed. The background is attached. On page 42 is the rehabilitation of County Structure B145 Combermere Bridge. Resolution number OPCC 250119, moved by Chair, seconded by Committee, the County Council approve contract PWC 2025-46 as submitted by Urban Link Civil Limited, Beamsville, Ontario, for the rehabilitation of County Structure B145 Combermere Bridge located on County Road 62, Combermere Road, Township of Madawaska Valley, in the amount of $3,349,500 plus applicable taxes, and the county adopt a bylaw to execute the contract. All which is respectively submitted Glenn Dorchester Kerr and committee members.
Thank you. Members of council, any comments, questions, concerns about item number 1? Item number 2? Item 3? Item number 4? And I wouldn't go through the individual sections. I'll trust that as adults we've all read them. Item number 5. Item number 6. And Mr. CAO, please.
Thank you, Warden. And the Vice Chair did mention this item as well. So there was some conversation during this committee whether or not the town of Petawawa, or the original request did not match what was passed by committee. There was mention of the town's concurrence with that change. Since that time, a piece of correspondence has been received by the town of Petawawa that, again, offers that there is now concurrence with what the County of Renfrew is doing with the community safety zone and what the town of Petawawa ultimately has requested. That piece of correspondence will be part of the operations committee at the end of the month. So the request and what the county has now put into bylaw do match. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 7. Item number 8. Item number 9. Item 10. Item number 11. I'm sure it pained Mr. Davis to give this roll up. Yeah, exactly. Item number 12. The report as a whole. Can I have a mover, please?
So moved, Warden.
Thank you. So you've heard the report. Are there any further questions? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you very much, Council. At this time, there are no consent items. And we will move to staff direction and Minister of Finance Treasurer. Well, that's ours? Yes. So is he going to? Yes, could you speak to that, please?
Yeah, Daniel, go ahead. This is your staff report.
My apologies. Good morning, County Council. As we mentioned in the previous Finance Committee meeting, the requirements for our debenture from the Infrastructure Ontario require us to have timelines that do not allow us to go through committee. So presented before you is the bylaw debenture in its entirety for the first time, with a closing date of March the 3rd and an interest rate of 3.5% for the Foymount Road debenture. Again, this is transferring a construction loan we had into a debenture to begin repayment. Thank you.
Thank you. And so with that, could I have a mover, please, that council adopt a bylaw to authorize the borrowing upon serial debentures in the principal amount of $8,850,000 towards the cost of Foymount Road. So a mover, please. Member from Kilheggy Richards, second by the member from Arnprior. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you, council. And if I could have a motion, please, that pursuant to Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, the county council meeting move to a closed session for the purpose of, number 1, 2C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, paramedic base update. And could I have a mover, please, at 9:57? It would be the member from Head Clare Mariah, seconded by the member from Madawaska Valley. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to report that council received an update regarding a proposed paramedic base enclosed. Number 17, are there any reports from representatives appointed to external boards? There's none at this time. Notice of motions? Seeing none, and we have a member's written motion, and it is whereas the County of Renfrew is committed to maintaining and enhancing its infrastructure, promoting tourism, and optimizing operational efficiency while ensuring cost-effective management of resources. Whereas the County of Renfrew active transportation strategy identifies the importance of data-driven insights into achieving sustainable infrastructure development and improved mobility for residents and visitors as outlined in the County of Renfrew active transportation strategy. Whereas Streetlight Data, a leading provider of advanced transportation analytics, offers insight into traffic patterns, tourism trends, and infrastructure planning that align with the county's goals. Whereas the integration of Streetlight Data into county planning strategies could provide the following benefits: asset management, prioritize maintenance and extended asset lifespans using data on traffic patterns and infrastructure usage, resulting in cost savings. Tourism development, leverage insights into visitor travel patterns to identify key tourist destinations and support strategic investments to enhance economic growth. Staff workload optimization to streamline data analytics processes, reducing reliance on manual data collection and reallocating staff to other critical tasks. Workload planning, improve resource management through detailed transportation and infrastructure demand analytics. Data collection, replace costly manual surveys with accurate, real-time data for more effective decision-making. Whereas exploring the potential of Streetlight Data aligns with the county's objectives of sustainability, operational efficiency, and community development, as well as supports informed decision-making for the future extension of Highway 417. Therefore, be it resolved that number 1, the County of Renfrew Council directs staff to develop a feasibility study on the implementation of Streetlight Data. This study will evaluate the potential cost benefits, align with the county's asset management, tourism development, and operational goals, and its applicability to future highway infrastructure planning. Example, the extension of Highway 417. And number 2, staff are to present their findings to the Development and Property Committee prior to the 2026 budget process to ensure alignment and budgetary priorities. A mover, please, is Councillor from Greater Madawaska, and would you like to give us the background, please?
Thank you, Warden, for reading that. That takes a bit off my voice. Do we need a mover and a seconder for that resolution first, though?
I didn't believe we need a seconder, do we? Now I do. Okay, I'm sorry. Could we get a seconder for that? And member from Whitewater. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
My apologies.
No worries. Just an overview of Streetlight Data. Streetlight Data is the leading provider of transportation analytics, leveraging big data and advanced analytics to support infrastructure planning, policy making, economic development. The company delivers actionable insight to help governments, municipalities, businesses, and organizations to make data-driven decisions about transportation systems. The key features are comprehensive data collection, uses aggregated data from mobile devices, GPS systems, and connected vehicles and IoT devices. It covers all modes of transportation, including cars, trucks, bicycles, pedestrians, and breaks them down into commercial and non-commercial. It's a proprietary cloud-based platform providing on-demand analytics and enables users to evaluate traffic flows, trip origins, destinations, and travel behaviors. Intuitive interface with customers and anyways, they can see the data. I think my mouth's still frozen from the today. Applications, urban planning, guides infrastructure investments to identify traffic bottlenecks and underserved areas. Transportation data management assists in designing efficient transit routes and reducing congestion. Tourism analytics tracks visitors' movements to inform marketing and strategies and resource allocation. Sustainable initiative supports carbon emissions tracking and active transportation planning. Equity analysis evaluates transportation access and impacts and underscores community. Cost effective eliminates need for expensive manual traffic studies. Provides a granular, real-time data enabling precision decision making. Sustainable environment impacts helps reduce greenhouse gas emissions by promoting sustainable transportation plans, facilitates the shift to eco-friendly infrastructure. The part of it as well is not only it tracks the vehicles, but it also tracks pedestrian traffic. So if we were to take it as an example, any planning for transportation needs in Arnprior, Renfrew, Petawawa, or Pembroke area, it actually will show you where the pedestrians are currently having to walk, and that could assist with transit. Targeted users are the municipalities and counties seeking to improve infrastructure, regional transportation organizations, private sector stakeholders, and the benefits are improved decision-making, reduced costs, enhanced collaboration, tourism growth, and it'll allow us to make informed decisions to align with our economic, environmental, and social objectives.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from anyone else? Just to make sure I understand this, so is there, I'm sorry, thank you, I'll get to McNabb Braeside in 1 second. Is there any expectation of added infrastructure with this? Or because I have to admit I'm not aware of if the existing streetlights have the technology for this.
Okay, this is not actually the street lights. The company is called Streetlight Data. So it's a cloud base. It collects all the geofencing information from all the vehicles, all pedestrian traffic, anything with a cell phone, your GPS in your vehicles, your computer within your vehicles, and your cell phone. Collects all the data from that. It's much similar to last year when the OVTA did geofencing to look at tourist patterns. Well, this will encompass all of that without it would be a standalone cloud platform. And this information is out there readily available. And what they do is they can make it concise and bring it all together, and will target any areas that within the county or your township for all of the information that I discussed. So it's not an infrastructure, it's a cloud-based data system.
Great, thank you. My only other question is, Elon Musk doesn't own this, right?
I have no knowledge what Mr. Musk owns, but I do not believe he owns this.
Perfect, thank you.
And all of the data that's out there it's public information. This is just the collection of it.
Thank you. And the member from McNabb Braeside and then Whitewater.
Thank you, Chair. So I do support this very much so, just based on a number of criteria, but one of them that is top of mind is the number of requests that we had from residents about what's going on with the traffic in their own particular neighborhood. It's tied up a lot of staff time over the years, and if this in any way streamlines that alone, I think it'll be very wise idea to explore this. And then secondly, if the report comes back with a recommendation and it's implemented, this is certainly something that lower tiers could take on in the future should that project be successful at the county level. So I think the staff direction to investigate this would be a good use of their time. Thank you.
Thank you. And the member from Whitewater, please.
Thanks, Warden. Interesting proposal, and I support it in principle, but I was wondering if I could ask CAO for input. Asking the staff to do this analysis, does it require reprioritization of any workload? Can it get fit into our work plan for 2025 in order to meet the 2026 deadline?
Mr. Kelly?
Thank you, Warden. Thank you, through you to Councillor Nicholson. I think it's achievable. I think this is by essentially next January. We'll have to do a review of ensuring. There was a question that I had of Councillor Weir about where the data is stored. First and foremost, we need to ensure that the data is stored in Canada. That's one of the main things we deal with here. In terms of workload, we'll just have to, with direction, we'll prioritize this in due course. I'm sure we'll slide it in there somewhere.
Okay. Thank you. I think oh, sorry, I thought that was a question directed to me.
There was a question in there. Yeah, there was a question about the data.
Okay. I am not sure where the housing of the data is. They do have Ottawa office. They have offices within Canada. And since this is cloud information that's gathered, that's public record, and public can access it if they have the proper technology, I don't believe that the storage is an issue because it is public information that's gathered within Canada. But I guess that would be part of the process for your team to speak to their offices in Canada to see whether they have data storage within Canada.
Thank you. Member from Bon River Valley, please.
Thank you, Warden. I'd like that question answered before I don't think it's a bad idea, don't get me wrong, but I'd like to know before I support this. Thank you.
And member from Killaloe Richards, and then Mr. Bromley.
Thank you, Chair. One question that I would have, if this company ends up being on bad times, and is it available to be sold from that company to another company, and where that would track? I would be interested to know that.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Bromley, please.
Thank you very much. This is intriguing. There is, once again, we are confronted with the yin and the yang of the digital revolution. I just want to throw my lot in with the concern that is being expressed here. There was one issue that came before this council at some time in the past, in the recent past. There was question of where is the information held. Certainly understand what Councillor Weir is suggesting, that this is publicly available, but there is still an agency that is aggregating this. There was, I cannot recall the data aggregating company that became famous out of the UK a few years back with a political bent. Ultimately, the information, the aggregating of this information then becomes a property unto itself and becomes a value unto itself. And I have the reservations, I think, that the mayor of BV was expressing. We now find ourselves with a predatory neighbor to the south rather than an ally to the south. There is no putting that genie back in the bottle, regardless of where our trade and commercial issues may take us moving forward. It has changed dramatically and profoundly the relationship between our countries. So just in order on the first resolving clause, if you will, study and evaluate the potential cost benefits aligned with the county's asset management, et cetera. But I think critical amongst those criteria is where shall this information be housed? And if it is domestically, then I don't have large concerns, though I have concerns all the time now in the digital revolution. But if it is in fact housed outside of our borders, then I have substantial concerns that I do not feel could be allayed.
Okay, thank you. So I would suggest that it's part of the review. At this point, when you look through all the verbiage of the motion, we're requesting staff take a thorough examination of it and bring it back for approval, or not, with a recommendation. So the member from Greater Madawaska?
You took the words out of my mouth. Thank you.
Oh, good. I'm getting good at that this week. So thank you. Any further comments, questions, or concerns? So what I'd like to say is I really like this idea because I think I see some of the applications and the greater good, but as you know, I'm sure everybody, including the mover and seconder, they are concerned about about the safety of the information. And I think that, the staff have heard the comments today, and we'll take those to heart. So with that, if there's no further comments, or I'd like to call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you, Council. And next, we'll move to Canada Post. Whereas the Canada Industrial Relations Board, as instructed by the Federal Minister of Labour, Stephen McKinnon, ordered the end of the postal strike and the resumption of mail service at Canada Post on December 17 under Section 107 of the Canadian Labour Code. Whereas the Federal Minister of Labour, Stephen McKinnon, created an Industrial Inquiry Commission under Section 108 of Canada Labour Code, led by William Kaplan, that will work with the Canadian Union of Postal Workers and Canada Post to examine the future of the public post office, including possible changes to the Canadian Postal Service Charter. Whereas Canada Post is first and foremost a public service. Whereas the Commission has been tasked with reviewing the obstacles to negotiate collective agreements between CUPW and Canada Post, the financial situation of Canada Post, Canada Post's express need to diversify and/or alter its delivery models in the face of current business demands, the viability of the business as it currently is configured, CUPW's negotiated commitments to job security, full-time employment, and the need to protect the health and safety of workers. Whereas the Commission only has until May 15 of this year, 2025, to submit its final report to the government and make recommendations about the future structure of Canada Post. Whereas while there's room for written input, the Commission process is not widely publicized, nor equivalent to a full and thorough public service review of Canada Post's mandate, allowing for all stakeholder input, as has been undertaken by previous governments. Whereas it will be crucial for the Commission to hear our views on key issues, including maintaining Canada Post as a public service, the importance of maintaining the moratorium on post office closures, including Canadian Postal Service Charter, home mail delivery, parcel delivery, keeping daily delivery, adding postal banking, greening Canada Post, EV charging stations, food delivery, improving delivery to rural, remote, and Indigenous communities, and developing services to assist people with disabilities and help older Canadians to remain in their homes for as long as possible, and at the same time helping to ensure Canada Post's financial self-sustainability. Therefore, be it resolved that the County of Renfrew provide input to the Commission in the form of a written submission. Therefore, be it resolved that the County of Renfrew will write the Federal Minister of Labour, Stephen McKinnon, and the Federal Minister of Public Services and Procurement of Canada, Jean-Yves Duclos, who is responsible for Canada Post, to demand that no changes be made to the Canada Post Corporation Act, Canada Post Mandate, or the Canadian Postal Service Charter without a full, thorough public review of Canada Post, including public hearings with all key stakeholders in every region of Canada. And I believe, mover, please. Member from Whitewater, do we have a seconder? Member from Bon Valley, and I recognize that the member from Killy Hagley Richards has declared a conflict for this issue. Comments or questions? And the member from Whitewater, please.
Thank you, Warden. I just want to reiterate the importance of postal service for rural Ontario, specifically here in the County of Renfrew, and that's the reason that I brought this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, and I too share that, and would welcome the opportunity to provide input as we put a written submission forward. I think it's important that we stress how Canada Post is a central part of service delivery, and if they're going to expand their mandate, helping seniors and people with disabilities remain in their homes longer, I think that's of value, as well as providing postal services. Thank you. Member from Bon Valley.
Thank you, Warden. Just out of curiosity, because I haven't heard anything, do we know where FCM is on this? I know our member isn't here, but have we heard anything?
I believe they're supportive of retaining service for rural Canada, but I can't recall specifically what they said. I do recall reading something, and I was left with the impression they were supportive. Member from Amherst-Brownlee, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Warden. It certainly strikes me as well that how could you not be in support of the final resolving clause, which is not seeking to, in fact, put into effect the suggestions of CUPW. It is, in fact, that they hold public hearings, that they hold a fully transparent and open consultation with Canadians. How could you not be in support of that? That the incredibly tight timeline, in my estimation, is an overarching concern here. I do not know whether I would agree, even with some of the suggested changes that CUPW is making within this resolution, but they are not asking for us to support those. They are asking for there to be a much more fulsome engagement with Canadians. And I think that it's essential that that does so. I think that Canada Post is still one of those bits of glue that bonds and binds this country together. It has become de rigueur of late, over the course of the last year or so, to essentially eradicate the CBC, which in my estimation also shows a diminished understanding of what the CBC does across this country. I think that Canada Post occupies a similar space in that there are a lot of rural and remote parts of this country that their connection is only through Canada Post, or perhaps from a broadcast perspective only through the CBC. So any change to these things has to engage the full public and cannot be imposed and should not be imposed from the top. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions and comments? Seeing none, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you, Council. Whereas trade between Ontario and the United States is vital to the economic prosperity of Renfrew County and its businesses, industries, and workforce, and whereas the proposed 25% tariffs on Canadian goods exported to the U.S. could negatively impact local businesses, industries, and municipalities, increasing costs and reducing economic opportunities. And whereas the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus and the County of Peterborough have passed resolutions supporting the efforts of the Canadian and Ontario governments in their negotiations with the U.S. to address these trade barriers, and whereas municipalities play a key role in local economic development and procurement and should have the ability to support local businesses while ensuring value for taxpayers. Therefore, be it resolved that the County of Renfrew supports the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus and the County of Peterborough resolutions urging the Canadian and Ontario governments to take all necessary measures to protect Ontario's interests in trade negotiations and to ensure municipalities are included in a coordinated response. And further, that the County of Renfrew supports efforts to remove barriers that limit municipalities' ability to prioritize Canadian suppliers in procurement while ensuring fair and transparent trade practices. And further, that the County of Renfrew continues to support local businesses, industries, and workforce through the efforts of the Economic Development Department, including a Buy Local, Buy Canadian campaign and a review of County of Renfrew procurement options that support the Canadian economy. And further, that this resolution be forwarded to the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, the County of Peterborough, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, Roma, local municipalities of Renfrew County, and relevant federal and provincial representatives. A mover, please. Member from Bonnechere Valley, seconded by the member from Killaloe Richards. And discussion, please.
Thank you, Warden. So there's a bit of confusion amongst my back row crew here about that it's different than what was in your package. Craig and I and Gwen were changing it on Monday into Tuesday. I don't think this needs any background, but I think that we all know sort of, or don't know, what the state of the world is right now. I think it changes daily. We certainly are in a very unusual situation. Yesterday he declared that there would be no paper straws in government buildings. They're going back to plastic. This morning it was announced that the Gulf of Mexico will now be the Gulf of America. There's some really unusual things going on in Washington right now, but I will say our premier is there and trying to rectify some of the harm that's being done, but I hope that this gets support. And what I will do, we have a Roma meeting tomorrow and Friday, and I will be bringing this forward because I think that rural Ontario is going to be hit hard. The steel and aluminum tariffs, my colleague from Edmundston Bromley is absolutely correct. I think that we're in a fairly good situation, but I do wonder about supply chain. I wonder about jacking of prices, price gouging. Not that I would think that Canadian companies would do it, but it could happen. I do know in my own sector, in the automotive industry, we have grave concerns. So I think that this is a very important time, and it's changing not even daily, but hourly. I'm sure that sitting here in these chambers for the past hour, something else has happened. So those are my thoughts, Warden. Thank you.
Thank you. And member from Greater Madawaska, please.
Thank you, Warden. Through you, just a comment. I'm totally in support of this. However, one thing that I didn't see in here is there's no mention of the provinces working on provincial tariffs to reduce cost overall for us as well. So I see that. I'm not sure how it would tie into this, but I just wanted to make comment that I think the provincial tariffs need to be looked at as well.
So if I might just jump in a little bit. So it says we're supporting the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. And so its motion, I believe, that we passed the other day covers that, talks about it, and it also covers indemnifying municipalities should they change their practices against trade complaints, I guess is the best way to put it. And we're just checking to make sure that I'm accurate. Okay, so I am correct. So thank you. So Bonshire Valley, and then we'll move to Edmundston Bromley.
It happens once in a while, Warden. If I may, respectfully, I appreciate the provincial approaches, I understand, but this is a Canadian problem. We are not working in a vacuum. Our premier happens to be chair of the premiers across the provinces and territories, but this is a Canadian issue, and we have to act as a country, not in a silo. Thank you.
So we will, to the member from Greater Madawaska, we will forward the Wardens Caucus resolution to you, and you can share it with your council and community as well. Thank you. Edmundston Bromley?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I'm not sure if I heard correctly or not. I think perhaps Councillor Murphy had suggested that what you were reading was somewhat different from what was in the report. I was trying to follow along on the report. Is that accurate? That what was read was not what we have in our report?
I'm just frantically looking for it. I believe it's... It
wasn't on Monday.
I believe it may be slightly different. Just, give us 1 second.
I certainly will provide that change or provide that opportunity to confirm, but my challenge is that I didn't have, I was mostly I had read the resolution from Kawartha. That's what I thought we were going to be discussing today, so I wasn't fully following. So I cannot, it is impossible for me at all to give consideration to the change because I've heard it once and it went right out of my head. At the very least, if there was an intention to alter this, then it should have been done. There should have been a formal resolution to amend the member's written notice. At the end of the day, I'm wondering if it could at least be posted that we can read it again.
That's what I was going to suggest, is we place it up on the screen. Yeah. because the environment's changing so quickly, I was almost tempted to add the 25 plus 25, as I heard on the news this morning.
So,
Yeah.
Mr. Warden, I actually broached that with Craig on Monday, but then he very astutely said it is proposed tariffs. But again, this resolution could be outdated as we sit here. So, and I apologize, I did ask for that to be uploaded because it was an amalgamation of the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus and Peterborough County. So we were trying to encapsulate both eastern regions that had sent us resolutions.
And Warren, just to clarify, 18.4 does allow for, before you consider it today, that the motion can be amended or can be changed to a new motion, a revised motion on the same subject. So the notice of motion was on this subject. This is a revised motion, and as you've considered it, there is a motion on the table, but it was read into as that revised motion.
Thank you. And as
Okay. The clerk is just verifying that you've just received that email with that revision, and we're just working to get it on the screen.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. And so I'll reread it.
That's Canada Post.
Okay.
Beg your pardon, when was the email received of this text?
It was, and it's Canada Post.
Pardon me?
Just now, sorry. It was supposed to have been forwarded right now, but we're still working through that. So just to talk about timelines, so the initial intent was to support the Peterborough resolution. Then what happened was the Wardens Caucus passed what we felt was had some components on Monday that were important, and that changed our approach to try and take some of the best pieces out of both, but at the same time support both, rather than having two separate motions. Yeah, and so the Wardens Caucus, passed on Monday, didn't come out till Tuesday morning. So it's, as we say, the environment's changing way too quickly, and we're trying to adjust on the fly.
Again, this could be still dated right now.
So the motion is on the screen, but I'll read it just to assist. So it's where trade between Ontario and the United States is vital to the economic prosperity of Renfrew County and its businesses, industries, and workforce. And whereas the proposed 25% tariffs on Canadian goods exported to the U.S. could negatively impact local businesses, industries, and municipalities, increasing costs and reducing economic opportunities. And whereas the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus and the County of Peterborough have passed resolutions supporting the efforts of the Canadian and Ontario governments in their negotiations with the U.S. to address these trade barriers. And whereas municipalities play a key role in local economic development and procurement and should have the ability to support local businesses while ensuring value for taxpayers. Therefore, be it resolved that the County of Renfrew supports the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus and County of Peterborough resolutions urging the Canadian and Ontario governments to take all necessary measures to protect Ontario's interests in trade negotiations and to ensure municipalities are included in a coordinated response. And further, that the County of Renfrew supports the efforts to remove barriers that limit municipalities' ability to prioritize Canadian suppliers and procurement while ensuring fair and transparent trade practices. And further, that the County of Renfrew continues to support local businesses, industries, and workforce through the efforts of the Economic Development Department, including a Buy Local, Buy Canadian campaign, and a review of County of Renfrew procurement options that support the Canadian economy. And further, that this resolution be forwarded to the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, the County of Peterborough, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. I inserted Roma in my first iteration of this. Local municipalities of Renfrew County and relevant federal and provincial representatives. Thank you. Is there any further comments? Member from Whitewater, please.
Thanks, Warden. And I apologize that my mind has just been kind of racing on the change, only because I wanted to make sure I absorbed it correctly. And I don't know if I have a concern exactly with any of the wording, but my concern is that I agree with approaching this from a national effort to focus in on what's local and what's Canadian, but I'm also cognizant that a number of the industries in our community export to a number of other countries. And I don't want to exclude our very fruitful relationships with Germany and Australia and Switzerland, just as 3 examples I can think of off the top of my head. And I would hate to say, hey, we're not going to buy goods from these countries either because they're not Canadian. Yet we have very, very good relationships, trading relationships with these other countries. I just want to make sure that we don't lose sight of that in the resolution. Really, the problem is that we don't agree with one of our trading partners, and we want to make sure that we highlight that the problem is with their approach, not with the rest of our trading partners' approaches.
Sorry, thank you. I was just reading. Thank you. Member from Boncher Valley, please.
Thank you, Warden. It very specifically says the 25% proposed by the U.S. This is specifically about the United States and not about our trading with any other country. Thank you.
Thank you. Member from Amherst Bromley, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Warden. I'm finding this, I'm not raising a point of order, but it seems absurd to me that we received an amendment 10 minutes ago to a notice of motion. It seems to be substantially undermining the process of what we're doing. I have some issues, so let me preface this. Absolutely, there needs to be a response. It needs to be a coordinated response. In my estimation, the week after the American president floated the notion of 25% tariff on all Canadian goods, it seemed to me that there was anything but a coordinated response from our leadership right across the country. It seemed hodgepodge, sporadic, all for themselves. I will acknowledge that it seems to have finally come together and assembled. This does not, from a process perspective, does not provide me sober second thought. It doesn't even really provide me sober first thought, as it's coming in front of me and we're making policy on the fly. There was a resolution that was sent out with the package that I did review. I think that, particularly with the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus letter, what I found was a letter from actually over the executive director of AMO, and there was this was just Monday, in fact. We are aware, however, of the many factors and considerations that will inform the effective deployment of municipal procurement as a tool to support a broader trade and economic strategy, including avoiding unintended and negative consequences to local or regional economies, ensuring alignment with current trade agreements, contributing to broader interprovincial trade and trade diversification efforts, and effectively targeting efforts to avoid unnecessary cost escalations. I think that is very well written, and I don't think that that was included in either the Kawartha Lakes or Kawartha or the East Ontario Wardens Caucus correspondence, for that matter. As my colleague from Whitewater has suggested, We are a trading nation. We've been a trading nation for a long time, notwithstanding that there was a great divide in the country in the 80s when Prime Minister Mulroney led this and spearheaded this. I can scarcely find someone that does not believe in trade. Notwithstanding the fact that our largest trading partner has completely disregarded all norms, international laws, agreements, it does not do us well to then pick up that. Mexico is still part of NAFTA. Never mind what it's called now, it is NAFTA. So what we are talking about is being very specific on a bad faith international country, a bad faith trading partner, but it is one. It is not all trade. As an example, as a concrete example, and this is not pecuniary because there are a lot of people in the nation that are beef producers. We on net are about $2.7 billion in my industry of exporting. On hogs, it's $3 billion. Like, we're exporters. So this prioritizing Canadian is the antithesis. It is, I am certainly in support of the marketing campaign of encouraging our residents to buy Canadian. But I think that we should double down actually on our commitment to enforceable, legal, negotiated trade agreements and lead by that example and repudiate the example that has been set by the United States of America, which is to take a predatory and America first, I might say America only. In fact, there is no justification for this. There has been no justification for this. This was a context and a ruse that was put in place to allow an emergency use of tariffs. This is a bad faith, bad actor, and I think our response should be constrained to that bad faith, and yet we should continue to champion trade agreements and adhering to the trade agreements and following the adjudication that is provided in all of those. So I think that has been missed. I don't have time to even bring forward some amendments to this, but I would move that I don't think that there's an urgency, as Councillor Murphy has said, the playing field, the ground rules today do not apply tomorrow. So I do not know that there is an urgency to respond at this moment, but I do believe it is urgent for us to respond. But I would move that this be deferred to our next council meeting and perhaps be taken up at a committee meeting prior to that. I would move that it be deferred to the council meeting, whatever the next one is.
Thank you, and I think there were several people signaling that's what they'd like us to do. So yes, I would suggest we can defer it and come forward with a motion that amalgams various responses, including the Warden's Caucus, AMO, and yeah, we'll have a little more comprehensive information. So thank you for that suggestion. And I believe when someone asks to defer it, it's we don't need a seconder. And I think it's essentially, yeah, so we don't need a seconder. Okay, so we'll defer that.
Odd to me.
So we'll just 1 second, we're going to check to make sure we're following the process.
It's all new.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so we do need a seconder, but it's not debatable. So the seconder would be Armpire. And with that, we'll move on. It's not debatable. So next we'll move to number 20, which
does need to be voted on, however, Mr. Chair.
Oh, it does need, okay, I'm sorry, it does need to be voted on? I'm sorry, Kilhaggy Richards is not debatable, so I'm just...
My question was the previous motion that's on the floor.
Well, it's deferred.
That motion is...
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yes, so just reading the room. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much. I'm going to run and get my lottery ticket. So with that, we'll move to announcements. Member from Armpire, please.
Thank you, Warden. Tomorrow is, we're asking people to wear red. It's tomorrow is National Wear Red Day to show support for the awareness of heart disease. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Giardini, as always, is early. And the member from Madison Bromley.
Thank you very much. Very kind of you, Mr. Warden, to recognize me once again. To reiterate, we had a outstanding Carnival Frosty Fun, the 50th anniversary in Douglas this past weekend. The weather was exceptional in the 50 years. I think we've had exceptional weather maybe twice. So very fortunate. Reiterate again that the Northcote Fun Day is this coming Saturday in beautiful downtown Northcote. If one knows where Briscoe store once was, it's just in behind there. The other thing that is important, of course, to note, and I would join with Councillor Weir, so the carnival at the DACA Centre is also on Sunday this year. So I would encourage, as you had noted in your warden's remarks, Canadians embrace winter and we celebrate winter, and there are numerous opportunities to do so, and I would certainly welcome everyone both to Northcote and to our just outside Admast and Brumley, the incredible community in Dacre and the DACA Centre.
Thank you. And member from Greater Madawaska, please.
Thank you, Warden, through you. Just Calabogie Winter Carnival's halfway through now, and I just want to make sure that people know that on Saturday is we run it from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. There's firefighters are doing pancake breakfast. We have lunches. We have a pasta dinner and horse rides, indoor and outdoor activities, pioneer events, and some snowball games and public skating. So if you can make it to the Calabogie Community Center from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., we'll have events.
Thank you. Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, we'll move to new business. Seeing none. 22, which is bylaws, that the bylaws listed be deemed read 3 times and passed. A mover, please. Member from Greater Madawaska, seconded by Head Clerk Mariah. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you. It's kind of like the NHL. I know you were intending to blow the whistle, so I just went ahead. Confirmatory bylaw. Resolution is that bylaw 23-25, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the County of Renfrew at the meeting held on February 12, 2025, be now deemed read 3 times and passed. Can I have a mover, please? Member from Laurentian Hills, seconded by member from Whitewater. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you. And we're moving towards adjournment. Resolution that County Council adjourn at 10:56 a.m. Mover, please. Amherst and Bromley, second by Boncher Valley. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you very much. We'll move into the Health Committee meeting at approximately 11:10.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Committee of the Whole for Health. We've now dispensed with the boring stuff for today, and now on with the highly rated Health Committee. With that, I'm calling to order. Ms. Van Starkenburg, has the roll been called, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and we have quorum.
Thank you so much. I would invite at this juncture disclosure of pecuniary interest, and if any, the general nature thereof, please. I do not see any. With that, I would seek a motion to approve the minutes, that the minutes of the January 15th, 2025 meeting be approved. Seek a mover, please. Councillor Weir, seconded by Councillor Grills. Any errors or omissions? I see none. All in favor? They are approved. And now the recommendation is that the Board of Health minutes for November 26th and December 19th, 2024 meetings be noted and received. Once again, I would seek a motion. Councillor Brose, seconded by Councillor Purcell. Well, there's no errors or omissions on our minutes. Any questions on the minutes? I think that we have 5 members of the Board of Health present. A question, Councillor Murphy?
Just as a note, Mr. Chair, many of us left the meeting because of the announcements and didn't come back until the very end. So if there are any pertinent questions, I'm not sure who should, you weren't there and you weren't. Okay. Oh, so Troy can answer questions. There you go.
Well, thank you for the one local member that did stay and got it out right through the entire meeting. Councillor Purcell is at your convenience if, in fact, you have any questions. I see none. I will call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. There were no delegations and presentations at time of mailing. That remains consistent, Mr. Kelly?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Moving on then to communications. The first item is the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus correspondence to Minister of Long-Term Care. A recommendation that the communications be received as information. I would seek a mover, please. Councillor Murphy, seconded by Councillor McKenzie. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor. That is carried. Moving on then to consent reports. And we have a report. I will defer, Mr. Blackmore, if you could take us through the consent report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through to committee. The first item is the long-term care resident statistics, identifying occupancy for both Manor and the Lodge up to January 2025. The second is a notice of a recent notice from the ministry for staffing increase top-up for nursing and PSW supplemental staffing, equating to approximately $82,258 for the Lodge and $92,488 for the Manor. In addition, allied health professional funding, a supplement increase of $11.97 per bed per month, for a total allocation of approximately $23,844 for the Lodge and $25,855 for the Manor. Information item number 3 is our service accountability agreements for the Manor and the Lodge. Number 4 is an inspection report for the Manor, which is hyperlinked within the report with no findings. Item number 5 is an inspection report from the Ministry of Long-Term Care for Miramichi Lodge as a follow-up to a critical incident, for which there were no findings as well. That report is also hyperlinked. And item number 6 speaks to some new recruitment for Miramichi Lodge and Bonnershire Manor. We're welcoming Jackie Powers as a resident care coordinator to Miramichi Lodge. Jackie comes to us with over 10 years experience from PRH, mostly working on the medical and rehab units, and we're looking forward to Jackie's contributions to the Lodge. In addition, we hired a resident care coordinator for Bonnershire Manor, Prabjot Kaur. Prabjot has a BSCN certification, as well as certification in gerontology and palliative care, and we're looking forward to Prabjot's contributions as well. Item number 7 is a Delegated Authority Bylaw, 9824. It speaks to Project Amplify. Committee will recall Project Amplify is the software program that allows long-term care to speak to hospitals for our electronic health records. This latest agreement with, I believe it's St. Joseph Health out of Hamilton, gives St. Joseph Health the ability to survey the homes as part of the, basically just identifying the efficiencies of that program by way of a research questionnaire. And those are the information items.
All right, thank you very much. As consent items, I would review or invite any question or comment on item 1, resident stats. Item 2, the staffing increasing. Councillor Brose.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to Mr. Blackmore. Just curious, I know it's been an ongoing challenge trying to fill some of the vacancies for PSW staff. Are you still having continued success in finding individuals to staff some of those positions, or have you hit a vacuum?
Mr. Blackmore, please.
To Councillor Brose, through the chair, yeah, we're having increasing success, actually, with regard to recruiting, to the point I think I identified earlier that we're hopeful to be not reliant on staffing agencies in the very near future.
Thank you. Anything further? Just to note, the cumulative increase across the 2 homes and across the 2 different envelopes, but cumulatively it's just about $130,000, sorry, $230,000, which in fact was about half of the enhancement funding for Bonisher Manor alone that we removed. These, as I understand it, are supra budget, i.e. these envelopes were not identified at the time of the budget development and approval, correct?
Correct, Chair.
All right, thank you very much. Anything on item 3, 4, 5, long-term care management recruitment. Very pleased to see this, and I want to take this opportunity on behalf of committee to welcome Ms. Powers and Ms. Carr on their recent hiring. Looking forward to their participation in our long-term care homes, and also pleased that in filling these vacancies, we did not create other vacancies, well, at least not for ourselves. Moving on then, item number 7, the item under the delegated authority bylaw. As I understand, there is no financial implication to this whatsoever, correct?
Correct, Chair.
Thank you. I see no questions, so, oh, sorry, of course, how could we get there? Councillor Nicholson, please.
Thanks, Chair. If I could ask a question on item number 1, if that's possible.
Absolutely. I will extend this grace period for this health committee, but going to have to be faster with the hand at future health committee.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm looking at the numbers for the totals of the patients on the wait list at 1,063. And when I see the numbers proportionately weighting against different facilities, I was wondering if it might be possible if the Chief Nolan could offer any comment on if there's any distribution of people in his care, community paramedic care, on these wait lists, that he might know might notice some geographical thing that he could share with us to say where the heat map of these people on the wait list mostly is.
Chief Nolan, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to members of the committee. I don't have ready statistics for you in terms of your request. However, I'd be happy to run that data. We do know that we have very high subscription rates of people within our community paramedic and long-term care program, and virtually anyone on the wait list for long-term care within Renfrew County is sought out to ensure that they have the adequate supports that they require at home while they're on the wait list. In terms of a heat map, I'll bring that back to staff and happy to bring that to future committee.
Thank you. I think perhaps it's well worth noting here as well that the CPLTC is completely unrelated to the county long-term care homes, that there are people, it is not dedicated to those that are waiting as first choice for Miramichi Lodge or Punisher Manor. It is all of the homes, and we are providing that care too. They are two distinct items. Anything further on the consent report for long-term care? I see none. With that, Chief Nolan, if you could take us through the Emergency Services consent report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to members of the committee. Item number 1, the County of Renfrew Emergency Response Vehicle Certification Project. Very excited to speak to this project, and I'm sorry Lee's not here right now because Taylor Hanrath, the PN from Manager of Capital Works, has been working very closely with Deputy Chief Libby, as well as our staff who we purchase service from Public Works, Glenn, who's our mechanic. We've endeavored to shorten the time window to be able to receive a vehicle, to be able to make it an emergency response vehicle. And I think a good example of why we've moved on this was last year we waited in excess of 1 year. So we purchase a vehicle, we send it to an upfitter in Toronto, it takes a year for it to come back. And there are a number of complicating factors. A vehicle that sits is not good for a vehicle, but the downtime was significant. We've worked through a number of different processes, not the least of which with our partners in finance around fleet rental lease program for vehicles. And we've been able to find a way with the ministry to become the first ministry certified emergency response vehicle manufacturer as a municipal paramedic service. That will reduce our time to weeks in terms of upfit, and over the lifespan of a vehicle, almost half our total cost over the 5-year period. So happy to be moving on this. We did invite the ministry to come and be a part of our certification process, and they were pleased to be a part of that. So we will soon, I hope, hear from the province that we are fully certified as a vehicle manufacturer, upfitter, integrator to be able to do this. This may represent an opportunity for the county to extend these services to other municipalities who are also waiting a significant amount of time. We have chosen to do this on a pickup truck platform. It made the upfit and the certification requirements easier for us, given the nature of the vehicle, passenger compartments, and so on. So you will see later in today's report where we are also moving forward with emergency response vehicles in the SUV type category. But that's just until we get up and running on our own, and I hope that we'll have a bit of both as we go forward, given the nature of the design of the vehicles. But really big thanks to staff for taking this idea, running with it, and making it possible. Item number 2, Mr. Chair, is items that were approved under bylaw 98-24, delegated authority. The first being 2125D HC 250117D on January 17th, description of virtual care programs and appointments with Ontario Health. This is a funding opportunity and an agreement that came to us late in 2024 that we've been able to move forward on in January, which secures some funding for agreements to be able to establish a partnership with Ontario Health to support and improve access to primary care through implementation of online booking for patients. Of course, improving patient experience, and patients can book appointments with their primary care provider. This again is through the OHT relationship that we have as the transfer payment agreement for the OHT here in the county. Bylaw 2225D HC 250219D, as in Delta, purchasing of 2 emergency response vehicles. So the tender award for those vehicles is described below. The total amount on those vehicles at $227,252.81 comes out to $113,626 per vehicle. which is a reduction to our total budgeted amount of $22,747. So we're coming in under budget, and one of the criteria within these emergency response vehicle tenders was a shortened delivery time from the manufacturers, because that was a significant point of contention for us. So we will be moving forward with Battle Shield Industries Limited, VARS, Ontario, so also local to Eastern Ontario, and provided we're able to move forward with that right away. And I think that is certainly our goal. And that is all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Chief. I would invite any, beg your pardon, any question or comment on consent item number 1. Very pleased, actually, to see this initiative, perhaps even possibility of a revenue stream moving forward. We are still seeing the vestigial impact of COVID, perhaps most acutely still in our paramedic, in our ambulances, to the point where formerly the striker, the gurney bed, was part of the package, but it got to be such a delay that the warranty was actually being used up while it was sitting still and not being installed. So we're still dealing with quite a large number of the supply chain issues. Hopefully they are going to continue to be rectified, but obviously need is driving innovation. So once again, a fantastic response to some of the challenges, particularly fiscal challenges that we are encountering. Moving on to item number 2, the items approved under delegated authority. Any questions or comments? I do note on the online booking, so essentially this is primarily retroactive. We still have just approximately 6 weeks left until the end of the provincial fiscal year on March 31. So am I reading that correctly, that most of these funds have in fact been expended and that the funding year ends in 6 weeks? Is that accurate? Mr. Burke, perhaps?
I can talk to it as one of the members
Kelly.
that sits on the Ontario, or on the OVOHT board. Thank you, Chair, for the question. That is correct. Yeah, the funds have come out. It is, again, no comment on how long it takes to get a contract from the province on this one, but it is retroactive to April 1st, 2024 till March 31st.
And yet no comment is a comment unto itself, I believe. Perhaps we can anticipate an earlier agreement for the ensuing year that commences April 1st rather than at the last minute. Very pleased, obviously, on the last item as well, to actually have come in under budget. An outstanding start after so far the Cumbermere Bridge being the only other tender that has crossed our desks. Thank you for providing some sunshine, Chief Nolan. Anything further? I see not, so there was a joint recommendation that the consent reports be received as information. I would seek a mover, please. Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Watt. All in favor? That is carried. Moving on then to discussion reports, and the first item is a resolution. Once again, I would turn the floor over to Mr. Blackmore.
Thank you, Chair. Through the committee. A resolution, Long-Term Care Service Accountability Agreement, Schedule E, Form of Compliance Declaration. Recommendation that the Health Committee recommends that County Council authorize the Warden and Chief Administrative Officer to sign the annual Schedule E, Form of Compliance Declarations issued pursuant to the Long-Term Care Service Accountability Agreement for Bonnechere Manor and Miramichi Lodge. The background is attached to Annual Schedule E, Form of Compliance Declarations to be signed for both Bonnechere Manor and Miramichi Lodge and returned by the March 1, 2025 deadline.
Thank you very much. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Brose, seconded by Councillor Lynch. Background, please.
Background through Chair to committee. This is basically our means of identifying that we're meeting all of the obligations within our LSSA, Service Accountability Agreement.
Thank you very much. So one more question then, Mr. Blackmore. I'm assuming that this is internal and it is probably a static report, but I will make a direct inquiry. have each of Bonnechere Manor and Miramichi Lodge fulfilled the obligations under the Long-Term Care Home Service Accountability Agreement in effect during the period January 1, 2024 through December 31, 2024?
Thank you, Chair. Through the committee, I can confirm that both Bonnechere Manor and Miramichi Lodge have met their obligations concerning the agreement.
Outstanding. Mr. Warden, CAO, you can feel quite comfortable now in signing said document. With that, any questions or comments? I see none. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And now I would seek a motion that the discussion be report be received as presented, please. Councillor Nicholson and Councillor Lafreniere. All in favor? That is carried. Deferred reports, none. Verbal reports, likewise, none. Closed session, there was none required at time of mailing. Mr. Kelly, that remains consistent?
That remains consistent, sir.
Thank you. Is there any new or other business? I would now seek an adjournment, meeting that this meeting adjourn and the next regular meeting be held on Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. Councillor Weir, seconded by Councillor Murphy. All in favor? That's a record. Thank you. Very
Good morning and welcome to the Community Services Committee meeting. It is 11:42. I'll call to order this meeting. Any roll call, please, Ms. Van Starkenburg.
Yes, thank you, and we have quorum.
Thank you. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? I see none. Recommendation is that the minutes of the January 15th, 2025 meeting be approved. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Member from Laurentian Valley and the member from Head Clare-Mariah, all in favor? Carried. There are no delegations and presentations. There are 5 communication items. I will ask if there are any questions on any of those items. Warden, please.
Thank you. The January 27th letter from the minister was addressing our letter to them. It did not address the questions that we brought forward in our delegation. So as soon as there's a new minister, we will put a different communication in front of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Warden. Are there any other questions on any of the 5 communication items? Seeing none, the recommendation is that the communications be received as information. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by the member from Killaloe Haggerty Richards, seconded by the member from Monastir Valley. All in favor? Carried. Consent reports. There is one item on, there are some statistics. Are there any questions on that? Seeing none, and there's also the May Day invitation. This is a day every year that is put aside for training for staff, and it is always very well. Every daycare in Renfrew County is shut down for this, and there's always a very interesting guest speaker that comes and leads the day. Okay, so the recommendation is that the consent report be received as information. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by the member from North Algona Wilberforce, seconded by the member from Greater Madawaska, Grumpy Madawaska. All in favor? Carried. Discussion report. I'll hand this over to the Director of Community Services, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, good afternoon, members of County Council. So I'll read the recommendation under encampment response funding. The recommendation is that the Community Services Committee recommends that County Council adopt a bylaw to enter into a transfer payment agreement with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing for the Encampment Response Initiative.
Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by the member from North Algona Wilberforce, seconded by the member from Head Clare-Mariah. Any discussion, questions on this? This is great information, really well done. This was a lot of work put into this. Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. So the recommendation is that the discussion reports be received as presented. Any mover and a seconder, please? Moved by the member from Greater Madawaska, seconded by the member from Monastir Valley. All in favor? Carried. There are no deferred reports, no verbal reports. I have nothing for a closed session. There is no new or other business. Oh, we have a question from the member from Whitewater, please.
Thank you, Chair. And it's my negligence in the agenda, which we very, very quickly went through. I would ask your indulgence to ask questions about 2 items under communications, if possible, still.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yes, and I'm getting it from BV here. Tough. She granted me the permission. Okay, first is the item number E, which is the 5-year plus caseload analysis that was done by one of Ms. Patrick's staff, April. Right, good, I got it. very comprehensive review, very interested. In the very last page, it talks about opportunities for further exploration and some of the data that may be able to, either data collections or the ability to process that data. And I know that in our budget presentation, budget approval, we included a data scientist. Now, it wasn't for community services. I'm wondering if that addition of the data scientist will be able to help gather or process some of this data that's recommended in the report for further analysis.
Ms. Patrick, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to Councillor Nicholson. With respect to your question, the data scientist is under Chief Nolan's portfolio, I do believe. Certainly that's something that I can explore with him. I know that we've been doing a lot of collaboration around some of the data for MESA with respect to individuals that are being served regularly through both the 911 system as well as through the community services program. So that's certainly something that we can take a look at. With respect just generally to this report that Ms. Muldoon put together, this was a special ask from the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services to really take a look, having all the service managers across the province look at some of the data for individuals who have been in receipt of social assistance for more than 5 years and try to better understand some of the barriers and some of the obstacles that are preventing them from being able to exit social assistance. So certainly I think the more access we could have to better data analytics would definitely be very helpful to us. The report that Ms. Muldoon put together was using the information that we do have available through SAMS, our social assistance management system, but certainly I think a lot of community data that could be looked at through multiple departments would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. And your second question?
Thank you, Chair. The second one, and I'm just looking at the titles here, but I believe it was the Ministry of Education's item under item number C. And in item C, in the annexes that were included, it provides a breakdown of different childcare spots that have been allocated to Renfrew County. And the number that stood out for me, and I'm at a loss to try to find it quickly here, I think was about 2,000 seats that we currently have allocated to Renfrew County. I know that that includes future schools that have childcare that are not included, that haven't been built yet, so they may be that. I know that there are a number of those positions just aren't accessible to us as our community members simply because we don't have the employees. But I'm wondering if this data can be further refined for a subsequent report to the committee on, yes, we have 2,000 spots. This is the breakdown of those 2,000 spots. And these are the waiting lists in comparison to the current populations we have in these child care ranges. So I think it's 0 to 4 and then before and after school. Is that possible to have a subsequent brief on that?
Ms. Patrick, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to Councillor Nicholson. Definitely we can bring back a more fulsome analysis on some of those numbers, for sure.
We're good? Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so the recommendation is that this meeting adjourn and the next regular meeting be held on Wednesday, March 12th. And a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by the member from North Algona-Wilberforce, seconded by the member from Whitewater. All in favor? Carried. We are adjourned, and we will we continue with next meeting or lunch?
Lunch is here, but I'm happy to do corporate services.
Okay, we'll do a switch to corporate services.
Welcome back, everyone, to our Corporate Services Committee. It is 12:45 on Wednesday, February 12th, 2025, and I'm calling this meeting to order. Has roll call been taken, please?
Yes, Chair, roll call has been taken and we have quorum.
Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? I see none. I have a recommendation that the minutes of the January 15th, 2025 meeting be approved. May I have a mover and seconder to get it on the floor? Member from Greater Madawaska, seconded by the member from North Algonah-Wilberforce. Were there any errors or omissions? I see none. All in favor? Wonderful. And I have a recommendation that the closed minutes of the January 15th, 2025 session be approved. May I have a mover and seconder to get it on the floor, please? Warden, member from Laurentian Valley. If there were any errors or omissions, we do have to move into closed. Were there any errors or omissions? I see none. All in favor? Wonderful. We have no delegations this afternoon. Attach the correspondence. If there are no questions to council members or staff on the attached correspondence, could I get a mover and seconder to accept the correspondence as information? I'll ask if anybody has questions first. I see none. May I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by the member from Arnprior, seconded by the member from Laurentian Hills. All in favor? Thank you. And we'll move on to our consent reports. There are two things in our consent report. Our insurance and council remuneration. If there are no questions on the attached report, could I get a mover and seconder to accept the report? Are there any questions? Seeing none. Moved by the member from North Algonah-Wilberforce, seconded by the member from Whitewater. All in favor?
Sorry, Madam Chair, was that all of the items within the consent? Or because I did have a question, and if you would indulge me, and this was on the AMO notification?
On the remuneration?
Yes.
That was in communications, not in consent.
Oh, okay. Is that what we're on, or have we moved past it?
No, we've moved past it, but if you... Yeah. First of all, I'm going to get the vote on the consent. All in favor? And Neil's just having a giggle back there because... I don't know, Ann. What do you think? Do I do a... All right, yes, we can go back to AMO under communications.
Yeah, and it was just, I'm assuming that the headings are somehow out of consistency with the actual reporting. And this is with respect to the Roma Zone 6 rep, where it says total amount paid was $921, but an honorarium was $2,070, and expenses only are $2,991. And I'm thinking that the headings do not match I'm wondering how the expenses only can be higher than the total amount paid.
I think the first column that you're referring to, the 900, I think that that's actually conference expense. And then there's payment.
Well, I don't know what they are, but I know that the first two items do sum to the last one. But the headings seem inconsistent with what they are saying. I would think two things equaling a larger thing, the larger thing would then be the total.
Member from Killu, Hegarty, and Richards.
Just reading into this, I think the columns are reversed. So where it says total amount, that should be expenses only. And then at the end, it should be total amount paid. But I didn't make the report, so.
I can take it back to Roma or AMO.
Well, or perhaps just a correspondence, even an email seeking clarity, because it does, I think it's clear, hopefully it's clear to everyone looking at it. It just seems mathematically to not work.
It worked for me. I'm not... Craig, thoughts?
Yeah, no, thank you. It's not generated from the County of Renfrew, it's generated from AMO, but we can definitely see clarification just to ensure. But I believe what Councillor Mayville suggested would seem to be reasonable, but we'll double check that reasonableness.
Okay, thank you.
If I could just to follow up, so does, so I know that Roma kind of falls within the umbrella of AMO, But does AMO provide Roma provide an honorarium itself? Or
Yes.
does the county actually recompense any members?
The county pays me, and Roma reimburses the county to a certain amount.
Okay, thank you.
All right, then. So we're done consents, and we will move on to our discussion reports. Apologies. Do you want, Greg's not here. Did you want to speak to the employment bylaw, Craig?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. So the discussion report, the first of them, is on page 30 of your committee report. I don't know. Anyway, it's the council remuneration bylaw, and just to get it on the floor, is that the Corporate Services Committee recommends that County Council adopt the revised bylaw for the remuneration of members of the Council of the County of Renfrew effective January 1, 2025, and that bylaw 2524 be repealed. The chairs, otherwise I can do the background unless you want to get the vote on that.
My
Sorry,
apologies.
I didn't realize you left the
We
chair.
were
I'm
trying
sorry.
to figure out the answer to the question.
Okay. Just the recommendations on the floor, Chair.
Yeah, sorry. May I have a mover and second for the recommendation? Moved by Whitewater, second by North Algona Wilberforce. Questions, comments, concerns? Pardon me?
Do you want me to do any background on it?
It's, you can. Go ahead, member from Amherst Bromley.
I will leave it at, if in fact the CAO wishes to do the background, I can hold my powder.
Yeah, through the chair, the background is there with the adoption of the budget last week to 3.08% cost of living increase that has been applied to that, as well as the phase-in of the council remuneration. Council will recall you are year 3 of the 4-year phase-in that was adopted at the previous council, and this is to bring this in line, and of course the bylaw needs to be updated on an annual basis to reflect that.
Any other comments?
Just a question, and it's kind of germane to item number 2 and also to the chart. So the chart is on the next page. The per diem is at the bottom, and it says it's unchanged over 4 years. I'm wondering what the actual honorarium, or stipend, whatever we call it here, has been adjusted by COLA, plus this legacy issue from I think that was the Gallagher report, ultimately. But ultimately, we've been increasing at a COLA rate the standard remuneration, but per diem is flat. So, as I've been saying with so many of the things, OSIF, CCBF, et cetera, if it's not increasing, it's decreasing. There is no such thing as standing still, like inflation has eroded. I'm wondering, perhaps through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Burke, if he could give indication of what COLA would have done to the per diem since its essential freezing 4 years ago.
Do you want to?
Madam Chair, if I can probably work that out in a few minutes if I can get that information back to the councillor.
I'm quite prepared just to, well, no, we have a resolution in front of us. That was one of the things I was wondering, if in knowing that information, it does seem to me that if we accept that the overall honorarium increase by the cost of living, then I'm suggesting that it seems reasonable that so should the per diem. Otherwise, it is diminishing in terms of its real value.
Yeah, I'm just not even sure, Chair. Even if we go, the per diem rate, I think it was even 243 even prior to 2022. It actually hasn't increased for a number of years. So your point about the Gallagher report, this was not reflective of any change to the Gallagher report. 243 goes back probably 6 years, or not longer. It's been 243 for a number of years. So in terms of a baseline, to the council member, where would you like that baseline to start in terms of calculation? Is 2022? I'm not being facetious, rather, I'm just trying to find a baseline to see where you'd like it established.
Madam Chair, through you, I was simply using the chart here that establishes 4 years. I was not looking at going back. That it is that old, I'm assuming perhaps that was what you could purchase a horse for when they first instituted that.
So I think, though, when it was voted on for these increases, the per diem was never part of the equation. That we never spoke about it.
If I may, so there are two components to the change of hours. And we are slowly getting to where the Gallagher report had suggested we have. That was the installments, if you will. But COLA was applied each year so that by the time we got to that in 4 years, we were now not behind, if you will, again, by the inflationary pressures over that same 4-year period. That is why both COLA and the 25% of the target are annually done. If we did not have COLA in addition to meeting the 25% of the target, we would be falling behind each year. So that's, I'm not comparing it to what Gallagher had suggested would be the appropriate band for council pay. I am simply saying that that has been subject to COLA over 4 years, but per diem has not.
Mr. Burke has an answer.
Through you, Madam Chair, no, sorry, I do not. I was just going to add to the complications. I think, this is an excellent point to raise, and the clerk and CAO and I have discussed a few times now the concept of council expense remuneration, the per diems, half-day per diems, as well as meal rates and other items that fall under that council expense claim policy. And we had kicked around a number of ideas for improvement from an administrative standpoint for council expense claims. And maybe if that is the direction the councillor is pointing at, we should take it away and review the entirety of the council expense claim process, and perhaps that now is the time to make those adjustments.
Member from Abbotston Bromley.
Thank you, Madam Chair, because I would defer to that and seek that a report would come forward. Because I too have wondered about, why there wouldn't be a half-day per diem versus a full-day per diem and things like that. So I think that I would much prefer to have a comprehensive report with a variety of recommendations. So I would defer any further discussion from my perspective on the per diem.
Thank you. Do you need staff direction or resolution? All right.
Yes, Chair, if I could. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Moved by Abbotston Bromley, seconded by the member from North Elgin Wilberforce. Discussion? All in favor? And you are so directed. Thank you. And sorry,
so the question now to you, Chair, is the original motion suggests that we maintain the 243, but as I would interpret this, is we will potentially vote on
yes.
this bylaw as it is.
Yes.
Maintaining that rate, but bring back a report on future increases, and then that bylaw would be updated at that time if there was any other additional changes.
That's the way I saw it. Member from Abbotston Bromley.
Precisely that we approve the bylaw as is at some point upon receiving the report. We may amend the bylaw. We may or may not make it retroactive if we are so amending, but that we pass this today as is.
So I have the original recommendation with the mover and seconder on the floor. All in favor? Excellent. And so, sorry, that just to your previous note that was in correspondence, our communications, so although AMO sends the letter, obviously I don't sit on AMO. AMO is sort of the parent company for Roma, and our treasurer is the same treasurer, which is why it appears like that. So on Friday during our meeting, I'll Peters, go ahead, Warden.
So, yeah, if I might just add, the AMO provides administrative support to Roma for a fee. So when you look at the Roma board report annual meeting, at the annual report, I think you'll see a figure of 100,000 or nearly 200,000. So that includes policy and finance and just general organizational stuff.
What was that? That's why I said over the break that I'm actually glad that we deferred that tariff resolution, because I'll be very interested to hear what AMO policy has to say on Friday at our meeting, and what AMO's grand plans are. I think it should be an interesting discussion. And sorry, I got ahead of myself there, Craig. I went right on to Greg, which I knew was going to be Daniel. Daniel, do you want to do B, please, under discussion items? No? No? Okay. Craig can do it. Yeah.
So why would it be Daniel? That's okay. Thank you, Chair. It was the second number one in my report, but that's okay. Thank you very much, Chair. So the second item for your consideration today is the employment bylaw number 1, and if I may, Chair, is that the recommendation is that the Corporate Services Committee recommends that County Council approve the following changes to the non-union staff salary grid within employment bylaw number 1. As follows: reclassification and renaming of the following position: program officer to program coordinator from group 3 to group 4. Item number 2, creation of the following positions: A through G. Outreach worker in group 6, health and safety and wellness coordinator in group 7, scheduling coordinator in group 7, data scientist in group 8, project manager in group 8, employee labor relations specialist in group 9, Renfrew County Mesa Heart Hub lead in group 10, and item number 3 of this recommendation is housekeeping of the following position: A, strategic implementation lead in group 12, and that the revised employment bylaw number 1 be adopted.
Thank you. May I have a mover and seconder to get it on the floor, please? Moved by Abinson Bromley, seconded by Killaloe, Haggerty, and Richards. Discussion.
Do you want background? Did you want background?
Really?
Okay. No?
The background?
Okay.
It is the background.
It is.
The resolution is the background. All in favor? Excellent. And I'll ask for a mover and seconder that the discussion reports be received as presented. Moved by Laurentian Hills, seconded by Head Clara Mariah. Oh, I'm sorry, Mark Wilmer. I didn't see you. All in favor? Excellent. We have no deferred reports. Are there any new updates to information? I see none. We have no closed session. Is there any new business? Member from Killaloe, Haggerty, and Richards, please.
I'm remiss, I didn't bring this up during the tariff discussion, but hopefully everyone's watching tonight at 8 o'clock. Canada versus Sweden.
We really like Sweden, though. All right, and at that, I have a recommendation that this meeting adjourn and the next regular meeting be held on Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. May I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by member from Madawaska Valley, seconded by the member from Greater Madawaska. All in favor? Thank you, everyone. Get home.